Hello and welcome to Crossfire, the show that dives into the heart of global conflicts, where nations collide, alliances shift, and lives hang in the balance. Tonight we're uncovering a critical development in Ukraine's fight for survival. With manpower running low, the US is now pressuring Ukraine to lower its conscription age from 25 to 18. Will this move help bolster Ukraine's forces, or could it spark a new set of challenges for the embattled nation? Also, as tensions rise in Europe, mystery UAVs have been spotted hovering over military facilities in the United Kingdom, raising alarms over possible Russian intentions. Could this be a prelude to a military strike? Stay with us as we unravel these high-stakes developments and reveal what they mean for the future of global power and security. As Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues to grind on, a growing concern for the Ukrainian military is its ability to sustain its force levels. With winter now setting in and the front lines shifting, Ukraine's manpower shortage has become a critical issue. In a move that is now raising eyebrows, the United States is calling for Ukraine to lower its conscription age from 25 to 18. So now the question remains, how will this affect Ukraine's fight for survival? Listen in to our next report.
As Russia's invasion drags on, a growing concern for the Ukrainian military is manpower. With winter setting in and the front lines shifting, the Biden administration is urging Ukraine to make bold changes to its military strategy. This includes a controversial move to lower the conscription age from 25 to 18. The call to boost Ukraine's troop numbers comes as US officials warn that without more soldiers, Ukraine's ability to defend key regions and eventually win the war could be at risk. The US has already sent over $56 billion in military aid, but now the focus is on Ukraine's people, not just its weapons. With Russian forces intensifying their attacks, Ukraine is facing a severe shortage of troops. According to senior US officials, the Biden administration is urging Ukraine to lower its conscription age to 18, expanding the pool of potential soldiers. Currently, over 1 million Ukrainians are serving, but officials believe the country needs at least 160,000 more to keep up with Russia's growing manpower. The situation is dire. European officials are sounding alarms, saying that Ukraine could struggle to hold on to recently captured territories like Kursk. And the growing concern doesn't end here. On top of that, North Korean troops are supporting Russia, adding even more pressure to an already tough fight. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been briefed by his Western allies on these serious concerns. Back in April, Ukraine passed laws lowering the conscription age from 27 to 25 and eliminating some exemptions to expand the draft. But despite these changes, the country still falls short of the troops it desperately needs to sustain its defense. As Ukraine scrambles to meet its military needs, conscription remains a delicate issue. Many Ukrainians worry that pulling young people into the military could hurt the economy by draining the workforce. The pressure to balance military needs with economic stability is growing as the war continues to take its toll. But with just over a month left in President Biden's term, and with uncertainty about future US support, Ukraine's position is becoming increasingly precarious. President-elect Donald Trump has made it clear he wants a swift end to the war, but his stance on continuing US military aid remains uncertain. The uncertainty is weighing heavily on Ukraine's leadership. As Ukraine pushes for a military solution, the question is, can the country muster the necessary strength to prevail, while still protecting its economy and the lives of its citizens? As the war drags into winter, the next few weeks will be crucial in determining the outcome of this battle for survival.
A shadowy threat is hovering over military bases in the United Kingdom. Mysterious drones flying with unsettling precision have been spotted over some of the most sensitive US and NATO facilities in the UK. Is this a case of espionage or something far more dangerous? With tensions already high over the war in Ukraine and mounting fears of Russian aggression, experts are asking if these drones could be part of a larger plot to strike at the heart of Western military power. Our next report decodes this view.
An eerie new threat is emerging in the skies over the United Kingdom. A series of mysterious drones have been spotted over critical military facilities. These sightings are raising concerns about espionage, possible sabotage, and growing security threats. Could Russia be involved? And if so, what's at stake for UK and NATO forces? For several days last week, unidentified drones were seen hovering near three major US Air Force bases in eastern England, namely RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall, and RAF Feltwell. The US Air Forces confirmed the incursions, saying that these small synchronized drones were spotted between November 20th and November 22nd. The question on everyone's mind: who's behind these mysterious UAVs and what are they after? According to a statement from the US Air Force in Europe, no critical infrastructure was damaged during the drone sightings, and no base personnel were harmed. But officials have made it clear that these incursions are being taken seriously. The bases involved are of strategic importance. RAF Lakenheath, for example, is home to the 48th Fighter Wing, a key component of the US military's European operations. The drones, while appearing small, seem to be flying in coordinated patterns, raising suspicions about whether they were operated by a state actor. US and UK officials are still investigating their origin, and while there's no proof that the drones gathered critical intelligence, military experts say these incidents could be a sign of something far more serious. Some say these drones may be used for spying or even preparing the ground for a future strike. This isn't the first time the UK has dealt with such threats. Back in August, British soldiers were warned about Russian spy drones potentially monitoring British military facilities to gather intelligence on training Ukrainian forces. This comes after a troubling pattern of similar incidents, including drone sightings over nuclear facilities in Germany and even US air bases. The bigger question is whether these drone sightings are an isolated issue or part of a more coordinated effort to probe and perhaps weaken Western military defenses. As of now, no hostile intent has been confirmed. But the fact that these incidents are happening so close to crucial military sites has many on edge. With drones becoming an increasingly common tool for surveillance and reconnaissance, the world is watching closely to see if this is just the beginning of a larger global security threat.
A disturbing new trend is emerging from the heart of the war in Ukraine: war tourism. Despite the ongoing devastation and daily missile strikes, some travelers are flocking to the front lines of this brutal conflict. With cameras in hand, they visit bombed-out bridges, wrecked homes, and sites of unspeakable tragedy. They've sparked outrage and ethical debates. But what truly drives people to tour a war zone? And is it ever really respectful? Our next report unpacks this for you.
A controversial phenomenon is emerging amid the ongoing war in Ukraine: war tourism. While the conflict has brought unimaginable suffering to millions, a growing number of tourists are flocking to the battle zones, eager to witness the destruction firsthand. From destroyed bridges to war-torn cities, these visitors are paying to see the devastation caused by Russian attacks, sparking debate over the ethics of turning tragedy into a tourist attraction. But who are these war tourists, and what drives them to visit places that have seen some of the most brutal assaults of the 21st century. While some view these tours as a way to memorialize the fallen and learn from history, others say the commercialization of such suffering is deeply disturbing. In 2023, nearly 2.5 million foreigners visited Ukraine, with over 500,000 coming from neighboring Moldova alone. For many, these tours are not just about sightseeing. They are part of a broader phenomenon known as dark tourism. This is where travelers seek to witness places marked by tragedy. But the question remains, is it ethical to profit from such sorrow? While some companies offering these tours say the goal is to educate and memorialize, others argue it's exploitative, profiting of the pain and destruction that continues to devastate families. And not everyone in Ukraine is comfortable with visitors cashing in on such tragic history. But some argue that these tours serve an important purpose. They provide a stark, often jarring reminder of the human cost of war, forcing people to confront the horrors that could otherwise be forgotten. While the debate rages on, one thing is clear: war tourism is here to stay, at least for the time being. As the war continues to unfold, Ukraine's tourism industry is adapting, both to the challenges of conflict and the growing interest in its tragic history. What's certain is that the images of destruction will resonate long after the war ends.
In a region shattered by war, a fragile ceasefire has sparked a rush of hope, mixed with uncertainty. Hours after the agreement between Israel and Hezbollah took effect, families displaced by months of conflict are making their way home. But as they return to the war-torn villages of southern Lebanon, they are greeted by more questions than answers. Are their homes still standing? And what will peace truly look like in a country left in ruins? Our next report tells you more.
After months of war and devastation, a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah is offering a glimpse of hope. But for many, the journey to peace is still uncertain. Families displaced by the conflict are returning home, eager to rebuild, even as fears of new violence linger. In southern Lebanon, the streets are bustling once again. But with the scars of war still visible, it's a delicate moment. Just hours after the ceasefire was announced, families packed what they could and hit the road back to their homes. But the question remains, will their homes still be standing? Or will they find only rubble where their lives once were? In the southern villages near the border, the mood is a mixture of hope and uncertainty. For many, this ceasefire is seen as a hard-won victory, a moment of celebration. But the reality of rebuilding both homes and lives remain daunting. Despite warnings from both Israeli and Lebanese authorities about unexploded ordnance and the dangers of returning too soon, many families are pushing forward. The conflict has already displaced over 1 million people, and while the ceasefire may provide some relief, the rebuilding process will be long and difficult. For Lebanon, this ceasefire marks the first ray of hope in a year of intense conflict. But, as UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres puts it, this is just a glimmer amid the darkness of the past months. The future of Hezbollah and the stability of the region are still uncertain. And with Israel's withdrawal and Hezbollah's continued influence, the path to lasting peace is far from clear. The war has ravaged Lebanon's southern regions, but for many, the return home is a symbol of resilience. But now the question is, will this fragile peace hold, or will the cycle of violence start again?
That's what we have for you in this edition of Crossfire. See you again tomorrow on India Today Global.